There are mornings when I find myself getting irritated before the day even starts. The faucet drips a little louder. The phone rings, and I do not recognize the number. Even deciding what to have for breakfast feels like a task I would rather not deal with. And I ask myself, why does everything feel so heavy now? I used to handle so much: work deadlines, family needs, bills, repairs, errands, all of it, back to back. But now even the smallest things seem to drain me. If you've felt that way, please know you are not alone. You are not failing at retirement. You are not becoming weak. In fact, what you are feeling is more common than most people care to admit. Retirement is supposed to be peaceful, they say, a reward after decades of hard work, but no one tells you how quiet it gets, how that quiet can grow into a kind of pressure, how the sudden space in your day can stir up feelings you did not even know you were carrying. This video is not about fixing you, because you are not broken. This is about understanding why stress feels different now, why the little things suddenly feel big, and what we can gently do about it together. A life that's quiet, too quiet. When I first stepped into retirement, I imagined peace. Finally, I could rest, move slow, and enjoy the quiet I had longed for during the busy years. And at first, it felt good. I drank my morning coffee without rushing. I watched the birds outside my window and felt a sense of calm I had not known in decades. But slowly, that quiet began to change. It started to feel a little too empty, a little too still. The things I once ignored now had room to echo. A dripping faucet, a strange sound in the hallway, a letter I did not expect. These small things became larger in my mind because there was nothing else to distract me. No meetings to run to, no packed schedule, just space. When you spend your whole life in motion, the sudden stillness of retirement can be jarring. I did not realize how much of my calm came from simply being busy. The noise of life drowned out my worries. But now, in this slower pace, I feel more. I notice every little thing. And often, those little things bring stress. The faucet drip feels like something I should fix. The phone ringing from an unknown number feels like a possible problem. My thoughts race in circles over things that never used to bother me. I ask myself, why am I like this now? But the truth is, this is normal. When life slows down, your mind has space to open old drawers. It pulls out worries, memories, doubts, things you tucked away while you were raising kids or working long hours. It is not weakness. It is the result of decades of holding everything in. Now that there is time to feel, it can all feel overwhelming. But you are not alone. I have felt it too. And the first step is simply knowing it is okay to feel unsettled. You are adjusting, not failing. 2. No longer the one in charge. There was a time when everything came through me. I made the decisions. I fixed the problems. I gave the answers. In my house, at work, even in my circle of friends, I was the one people turned to. That brought me pride and purpose. But in retirement, that role slowly faded. Now my daughter helps set my appointments. My son takes care of the online accounts. My family means well. They want to make things easier for me. And I am grateful. I truly am. But sometimes it feels like I have quietly lost my place. I am no longer the one others rely on. And that is harder than I expected. When I struggle with something simple, like setting the thermostat or unlocking a new phone, I feel embarrassed. Not because of the task itself, but because I used to be the one who figured things out. I used to teach my kids how to do these things. Now I hesitate to ask for help because I do not want to seem incapable. But the truth is, everything has changed so fast. And sometimes I feel like the world moved ahead without asking me if I was ready. This shift in roles creates stress in small ways. I feel unsure. I second-guess myself. I avoid speaking up afraid my opinion is no longer wanted. That uncertainty turns minor things into major emotional weights. A forgotten password becomes a moment of shame. A missed detail feels like failure. And what hurts most is not being included in decisions. Sometimes I hear about things after they happen. It is not meant to hurt me, but it does. Because deep down, I still want to feel useful. I want to feel respected. I want to feel like I matter. That has not changed just because I stopped working. You do not stop being wise when you grow older. But the world often forgets to listen, so I remind myself, even when others do not, that my voice still counts. 3. The body speaks, and not always kindly. These days, I wake up and take a moment to check how my body feels. Some mornings, it is the stiffness in my knees. Other days, it is the weight in my chest. Not pain exactly, more like a quiet pressure. I used to brush it off as just getting older, but over time, I started to notice something deeper. My body is speaking, and it is saying, I am tired of holding it all in. Back when I worked full-time or raised kids or managed a home, my body was always moving. There was no time to feel much. I pushed through headaches, ignored fatigue, and shrugged off tension. But now there is space. And in that space, my body finally has a chance to be heard. What I thought was just aging often feels like stress trying to find its way out. When I forget something, I get flustered. When I cannot open a jar, I get angry. When the phone rings unexpectedly, my heart jumps. These reactions feel too big for the moment, but they are real. And they come from years of being on edge, years of pushing through without rest. My nervous system has been wired for urgency. Even though life is quieter now, my body still reacts like it is under pressure. This can feel confusing. You think, why am I so sensitive now? But you are not broken. You are just finally feeling what you were too busy to notice before. The tension was always there. Now you have time to face it. I have learned to listen without judgment. I take slow breaths when my chest tightens. I go for a short walk when I feel restless. I drink water, stretch, and let go of the need to rush. These are not magical solutions, but they are small ways to remind my body, you are safe now. You can rest. 4. The unseen cost of carrying too much. For most of my life, I carried more than I let on. I carried the weight of making sure the bills were paid, the kids were fed, the house kept running, and that everyone else was okay. I carried responsibilities at work and at home, and I carried my own worries quietly because there never seemed to be a right time to talk about them. I thought I was being strong. Maybe I was. But that strength came at a cost. Back then, I did not stop to ask myself how I felt. I did not have the space. I pushed through headaches. I swallowed my anxiety. I stayed up late thinking about the future, and I woke up early to face it again. I was always on, always alert, always moving. And now that life has slowed down, my body and mind are still trying to figure out what to do without that constant pressure. The strange thing is, when the big responsibilities go away, the little things start to feel bigger. A flat tire, a change in the schedule, even a simple trip to the store can bring up a feeling I cannot quite explain. My chest tightens, my thoughts spin, and I feel overwhelmed. It is not about the task itself. It is about everything that has piled up over the years and never had a chance to be processed. When you carry stress for decades without releasing it, it does not disappear. It settles in your shoulders, in your gut, in your sleep, in the way you flinch when something unexpected happens. That buildup does not just fade after retirement. It lingers. And unless you slow down and tend to it, it shows up in unexpected ways. I have had days where I snapped at someone over something minor, and afterward, I would sit alone and wonder, where did that come from? It came from years of keeping quiet, from decades of being the strong one, of showing up for others and never letting myself fall apart. Now, in this season of life, I am learning to be more honest with myself. I am learning that letting go does not mean I failed. It means I have carried enough, and that it is okay to put some of it down, to breathe, to not have all the answers, to feel things deeply and not apologize for them. You might feel like you are supposed to have it all figured out by now, but sometimes the most healing thing we can do is admit how heavy it has all been and give ourselves the grace to rest. 5. Loneliness in disguise. I do not always feel lonely. The fridge is stocked. The television is on. I get the occasional phone call from my daughter or a visit from my neighbor. But sometimes, in the middle of a perfectly normal day, I feel a kind of emptiness that I cannot quite explain. It is not about being alone. It is about feeling like no one truly sees you anymore. When I was younger, my life was full of interaction. There were family dinners, coworkers, errands, school events. Even small talk in the grocery store felt like connection. But these days, the house is quieter. The phone rings less often. And even though the world is still spinning, it feels like I have stepped out of the center of it. This kind of loneliness wears a mask. On the outside, everything looks fine. But on the inside, there is a dull ache, a longing to be needed, to be asked, "How are you really?" Not just out of politeness, but out of genuine care. I miss conversations that last longer than a few minutes. I miss laughter around the table. I miss the feeling of being included without having to ask. And because these moments of loneliness come and go, it is easy to ignore them. But they build up. They affect how we react to things. When I lose my temper over a slow computer or a noisy neighbor, it is not just about that one thing. It is about all the words I have not said, all the feelings I have kept to myself, all the days I spent keeping busy so I would not have to sit with that ache. When we do not have enough real connection, our emotions have nowhere to go, so they come out sideways. Through anger, through sadness, through stress over little things that do not deserve that much energy. I have learned that the answer is not always to be surrounded by people. It is to be seen by the right ones. A real conversation, a handwritten letter, a warm hug. These things matter more now than ever before. If you are feeling this kind of quiet loneliness, I want you to know it is valid. You are not too emotional, you are not needy, you are human. And just because others do not always notice it does not mean your feelings are invisible. They are real, and they deserve to be heard. 6. I should be enjoying this, and the guilt that comes with it. When I was younger, I imagined retirement would be the reward at the end of the road, the final chapter where things would finally slow down and feel easy. No more deadlines, no more running around, just time to enjoy life on my terms. But the reality has been more complicated. There are days when I do enjoy it. A cup of coffee on the porch, a walk in the sunshine, a nap in the middle of the afternoon. But there are also days when I feel lost, restless, moody, and then I feel guilty. I think, I should be happy. I worked hard for this. Why am I not enjoying it the way I thought I would? That guilt is heavy. It whispers, something must be wrong with you. But the truth is, there is nothing wrong. You are simply adjusting to a new way of life, a slower rhythm, a different sense of purpose. After decades of being productive, it is hard to suddenly be still. The world tells us that retirement is a vacation, but what it really is a transition, and transitions are rarely smooth. We are not just leaving a job. We are leaving an identity, a routine, a version of ourselves we have known for years. And that kind of shift brings grief, even if we do not call it that. You might feel like you are wasting your time. like you should be doing more. But what if doing less is exactly what you need? What if rest is not laziness, but healing? What if stillness is not emptiness, but clarity? I have come to see that the pressure to enjoy retirement perfectly is unfair. You do not owe anyone a performance. You do not need to be cheerful every day. This time is yours. And part of owning it means allowing yourself to feel everything it brings: the joy, the boredom, the sadness, the peace. Give yourself permission to feel it all without guilt. Because this life stage is not about getting everything right. It is about learning to be gentle with yourself, maybe for the first time in a long while. 7. The pressure to be strong. I have spent most of my life being the strong one, the one who kept it together when things fell apart, the one who made sure others had what they needed, even if I was running on empty. And now, even in retirement, that pressure has not gone away. It is quieter, but it is still there. There is this voice inside me that says, "You are older now. You should be tougher. You have been through worse." And because of that voice, I often hide what I feel. I downplay my stress. I keep my worries to myself. I smile and say, "I am fine," even when I am not. But the truth is, being strong all the time is exhausting. It wears on the heart. It builds walls around emotions that were never meant to be held in forever. And it keeps us from reaching out when we need help the most. When I was younger, I thought strength meant pushing through. Now I understand that sometimes strength means slowing down. It means saying, "I am struggling today," without shame. It means allowing myself to be human, not perfect. I have had moments when a small inconvenience broke me in ways I did not expect. The printer stopped working, or I forgot an appointment, and suddenly I felt overwhelmed. And instead of judging myself, I asked, "What am I carrying that made this feel so big?" The answer is often hidden under years of silence. We hold back tears because we were taught that emotions are weakness. We avoid talking about pain because we think no one wants to hear it. But strength is not about hiding. It is about being real, about telling the truth, especially to ourselves. Now I am learning to let go of that pressure, to admit when I need rest, to say no without guilt, to cry if I need to, not because I am falling apart, but because I am letting go of the weight I no longer need to carry. If you're tired of being the strong one, I want you to know, me too. And that is okay. You have already proven your strength by making it this far. Now you get to be soft. Now you get to be honest. That is also strength, maybe the most important kind. 8. What helps me cope? Over the years, I have tried different ways to feel better. Some worked for a while, others did not. But in time, I found a few small things that help me stay grounded when the little stresses feel too big. These are not fancy solutions. They are simple habits. But they have made a big difference in my days. The first is breathing. That might sound too simple, but hear me out. When I feel overwhelmed, whether it is a loud noise, a piece of confusing mail, or just a wave of sadness, I pause and take 3 deep breaths. I breathe in slowly, hold it for a moment, and breathe out even slower. I tell myself, "You are safe. You are okay. You're allowed to feel this." It does not solve everything, but it helps me respond instead of react. Another practice is writing. Every morning, I sit with a small notebook and write down 3 things I am grateful for. Some days, it is big things like my health or my children. Other days, it is as small as a warm cup of tea or the sound of birds outside my window. This practice shifts my focus from what is wrong to what is still good. I also go for short walks, even if it is just around the block. Movement helps clear my head. When I move my body, I feel less trapped in my thoughts. Sometimes I walk in silence. Other times, I listen to soft music or nature sounds. It reminds me that I am still part of the world, even on days when I feel disconnected. One of the most helpful things I do is call someone, not to fix anything, just to talk. I have a friend I speak with once a week. We do not talk about anything serious. Sometimes we just laugh about silly things or remember stories from long ago. But that connection fills a part of me that silence cannot. I also give myself permission to rest. If I feel tired at 2 in the afternoon, I lie down. If I feel sad, I do not push it away. I let the feeling move through me, then gently carry on. I no longer expect myself to be productive all the time. I allow space for slowness. These practices may seem small, but they are like anchors. They remind me that I have control over how I treat myself, that I can create moments of calm, even in the middle of stress, and they remind me that I am still learning, still growing, still alive. 9. You are not alone. If you have been listening and nodding along quietly, I want you to hear this next part clearly. You are not alone. You're not the only one who feels tired for no clear reason. You're not the only one who gets overwhelmed by a simple task. You're not the only one who sometimes looks in the mirror and wonders where the strong, confident version of yourself has gone. So many of us feel this way, but we have been taught to keep it inside, to act like everything is fine, to believe that asking for help is weakness, to feel ashamed for not enjoying retirement every day. But the truth is, these feelings are normal. They are human, and they are shared by more people than you will ever know. We just do not talk about it enough. Maybe we are afraid no one will understand. Maybe we think our problems are too small to matter. Or maybe we worry about being a burden. But I promise you, your feelings matter, your story matters, and there is comfort in speaking it aloud. There is a quiet strength in admitting, this is hard. There is healing in knowing someone else has felt what you are feeling. And there is hope in realizing you do not have to go through this season alone. You have lived through so much. You have carried families, careers, and responsibilities. You have adapted, survived, and made it to this point in your life. That is not small. That is extraordinary. And now, in this quieter chapter, you deserve support. You deserve understanding. You deserve softness. Sometimes all we need is to hear someone say, I see you. I get it. I feel that too. So let this be that moment for you. From one human being to another, I see you. And I believe in your ability to keep going, one gentle step at a time. As I sit here, thinking about everything we have talked about the stress, the silence, the changes, the weight of things that used to be small, I feel a mix of sadness and peace. Sadness, because I know how many of us carry these feelings quietly. And peace, because maybe now, by putting words to them, we are giving ourselves permission to finally breathe. Retirement is not just a time of rest. It is a reckoning, a chance to meet ourselves without the noise, without the rush, without the roles we once wore like armor. And what we often find in that quiet meeting is not weakness, but tenderness. A part of us that has been waiting to be heard, to be held, to be understood. If you are still struggling with small things that feel far too big, I want you to know there is no timeline for healing. You are not behind. You are not doing life wrong. You are just stepping into a slower, softer way of being, one that takes courage, one that takes patience, and most of all, one that takes kindness toward yourself. You have already been strong in all the ways that count. You showed up for others when you were tired. You worked through pain. You made sacrifices. You survived. And now it is time for something different. It is time to let softness be your strength. Time to let honesty be your guide. Time to trust that even on the hardest days, you are doing enough simply by being here.